Alright guys, so welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we'll be making a classic Jamaican recipe, sweet potato pudding. This is just some of the ingredients that we'll be using in our pudding. So sit back, relax. You might want to get yourself a cup of tea because this one is quite delicious. So follow along and as we make our Jamaican pudding. Okay guys, so we're gonna start out by measuring out 1 cup of white Jamaican rum. And actually I'm substituting, the recipe calls for about 5 cups of water. We're gonna substitute 1 cup of water with the white rum. And we're gonna put some raisin in there to soak. And honestly, you can put as much or as little raisin as you like. If you don't like raisin, then I guess we can omit it, but we're gonna go ahead and just fill it to the top of the rum with the raisin. We're gonna let that soak. And while that's soaking, I'm gonna go ahead and get my sweet potatoes all peeled and grated. So I'll see you in a second. So what we're doing now is we're grating the sweet potatoes. If you have a blender honestly, you could go ahead and just cut them into small cubes or pieces and put them in the blender, but I like to do it the old-fashioned way. I find that I get a better result grating it by hand. It's more time-consuming, of course, but I actually don't mind doing it. So I need about 3 pounds of sweet potatoes. As you can see, I have some all ready to go there. So we'll come back with the next part once I get all of these grated up and ready. Okay, so this recipe calls for 5 pounds of sweet potato. I do not have a kitchen scale, so what I've gone ahead and done is I know that there's 1 pound and 16 ounces or 2 cups. So I have in here a total of 4 pounds or 8 cups of sweet potato all grated, and it oxidizes, so that's why the color is somewhat changed. And in here I have another 1 pound or 2 cups of sweet potato, so we'll go ahead and add that to the mix. And again, it calls for 5 pounds of sweet potato, so we've added that. Now we're gonna add sugar, and more specifically dark sugar. We need, and just to recap, the sweet potato that we're using is actually the Jamaican sweet potato, not the North American orange skin sweet potato. We're using the Jamaican sweet potato. The color is more like a purpley red peel. Okay, so now we're gonna add the sugar, which we need 3 cups of dark sugar. So give me 1 second. You know, if you don't want to make if you want to modify the recipe, by all means, you can go ahead and do so to make less or more. You can always double or cut it in half. You know, if you're not trying to make as much pudding as I am, but this is the recipe that I usually use when I make this. So we're getting our dark sugar. This is 2 cups of brown sugar. And I'm just gonna add 1 more cup to the mix. Perfect. So that's another 1 cup of dark brown sugar. Now we're gonna add the raisin mixture. So remember, I had gone ahead, and this recipe actually calls for 5 cups of water. So I'm gonna substitute 1 cup of water for a cup of white Jamaican rum. So remember, that's what the raisin is actually soaking in, a cup of Jamaican rum. So we're gonna add this to the mixture. There we go. And now we're gonna also be adding 1 cup of all-purpose flour is fine. It doesn't have to be, I mean, this is a pudding, it's not a cake, so it doesn't have to be like a self-rising kind of flour. So we're gonna add a cup of let's make sure we got a cup here. Okay, and 1 cup of white flour. So let me go ahead and get this all mixed together, and when we come back, we'll add the rest of the ingredients. Okay guys, so just to recap, in this container we have the 5 pounds of grated sweet potatoes, that's Jamaican kind, mixed with 1 cup of Jamaican white rum, or you can just substitute that for a cup of water. We have some raisins. You could just put as much or as little as you would like in here. We got 1 cup of white flour, all-purpose, and 3 cups of brown sugar. That's what's mixed in this bowl right here. And over here we have 4 cups, because this recipe actually calls for a total of 5 cups of water to be added to the mixture. So we already added the 1 cup of white wine, the white rum, so that's 1 cup right there. And here, either you add 4 cups of just plain water, or 4 cups of plain water with 1 packet of like milk powder, you know, the coconut milk, the powdered form, and you can add that, mix that with the 4 cups of water. Or what I have in here is 2 cans of coconut milk, and that's what I'm talking about, the coconut milk. From 1 can you get about 2 cups, so I have a total of 4 cups of coconut milk in here, so that will yield the additional 4 cups of fluid that we need to add to the mixture. Okay, so let's go ahead and just give this a stir, because this is quite thick, and then we add that to the mixture. Okay, let me go ahead and get this all combined, and then we'll come back with the final. All the spices will be added, the cinnamon, the browning, the butter, the vanilla, all the final touches just for flavor will be added, and then we're good to bake. So we'll be back. Okay guys, so I have a whole nutmeg grated in the mixture, and then over here we have a tablespoon of cinnamon powder, we have about a teaspoon of salt just to add for flavor. We have a teaspoon of cinnamon powder, and about a teaspoon of vanilla extract added in here, and about a 1/4 cup of melted margarine in here. So that's what we have in this mixing cup right here. We'll go ahead and get it all combined, and then we'll add it to the sweet potato mixture. So pan over here. This is all combined. I know it doesn't look like much right now, guys, but let me tell you, I wish you guys were able to smell this, because between the rum, the cinnamon, the nutmeg, I mean, the flavor is just bursting right now. So let's go ahead and get this all combined, and it's very important that you mix I know it's a lot, but it's very, very important to get it all mixed in really, really well, so the flavor is evenly distributed throughout the pudding. But this is the consistency right now that we're dealing with. The last ingredient that I do need to add to it is about a tablespoon of browning, and that's really just for color. So I mean, you can add as little or as much as you would like, depending on, you know, if you don't want it too dark, but it calls for about a tablespoon of browning. If for whatever reason your mixture is not this consistency, you can always either one, add a little bit more flour to thicken it up, or you can add a little bit of cornmeal, because that will actually help to, you know, get rid of some of the excess fluid that's in here. Just remember that, you know, potatoes, they generate water on their own, like, you know, it'll make it more runny. So if for whatever reason I don't know what kind of sweet potatoes you guys are using, or, you know, but in the past I've had to add either one, more flour or cornmeal to the mixture to get a better consistency, so it's not as loose or as runny as it was. So finally here, we're gonna go ahead and get our browning added. And actually I'm just gonna eyeball it, because I know so that's the browning here. And you watch, you see the color somewhat changing to more. That wasn't a tablespoon at all, so I do need to add some more, but I just want to show you as it changes. So let me go ahead and get the amount of browning that I need added to the mixture, get it all mixed up, get my bacon bowls ready, and we'll go from there. Okay guys, so this is the mixture for the sweet potato pudding. I went ahead and I added a little bit more of the browning. The one ingredient I think I didn't tell you guys about is a tablespoon of lime juice. So I think we've added everything here. So we have, just to recap, we have a total of 5 pounds of grated Jamaican sweet potatoes, 3 cups of brown sugar, 1 cup of all-purpose flour. We have cinnamon, nutmeg, lime juice, a little bit of browning for coloring, a tablespoon. We have the 1 cup of Jamaican white rum added here. We have the 4 cups of coconut milk, or 4 cups of water, and 1 packet of the coconut powder, whichever one you decide to use. We also have in here some margarine melted down, and I think that's basically it. So we have our pan over here. It's all, you know, I greased it and I put a little bit of flour. So now we're gonna go ahead and pour it in. You know, you also have to keep in mind the whatever container you decide to bake it in, if it's, you know, how thick it's gonna be. The bake time should be about maybe an hour and, or yeah, maybe an hour and 45 minutes or so. maybe an hour and 45 minutes to bake at, I usually start at about 350. So we can do 350 for an hour and 45 minutes. Of course, you want to check ever so often, because if your container is not as thick as mine, you know, it might bake a little bit sooner than the hour and 45 minutes. But this is what I have going right now. Just gonna put the last little bit in here. Oh, also the raisin. The raisin, I don't think I mentioned that. The raisin that I had soaked in the cup of rum. You don't have to use as much rum, or you don't have to use any rum if you don't want. You can always substitute it with just the plain water. But let me tell you guys, oh, I wish you could smell this. It is unbelievable. Like I said, between the rum, the ginger, the nutmeg, the vanilla, it's bursting with flavors right now. So this is it. We're gonna get our oven preheated to 350, and it bakes for an hour and 45 minutes. About halfway through the bake cycle, I like to go check, you know, do the knife test, make sure the middle is cooked, and then we put it for the remainder of the time. So we'll come back with the final product. And again, this is the Jamaican sweet potato pudding. Okay guys, so this is the pudding with about 30 minutes of cook time remaining. I was just doing a test. Yeah, that looks like about another 30 minutes of cooking. But this is our pudding right now. So we'll check back in about 30 minutes to see where we're at. Alrighty guys, this is the pudding with about 5 minutes of bake time remaining. I'm gonna go ahead and do the knife test. Poke. And not too bad. I mean, you just have to keep in mind that this is a pudding, not a cake. So it's supposed to be moist. We're gonna give it the 5 minutes, and then we're gonna set it on the counter to cool, and we'll do the taste test. But let me tell you, it smells amazing in here. Absolutely amazing. So can't wait to try this, and we'll let you know how it turns out.